Okay, folks, before we go forward, I want to kind of review something we did last week because I think it'll make this week much easier. Uh, Last week we talked about multiplying polynomials, and we made a little box. And on the box, we put what was in the first one on top, a b and a negative 10, and the second one on the side, a b and a negative 10. And when we did the multiplication, we got b times b is b squared. 2 times b is plus 2b. And minus 10 times b is minus 10b. And then plus 2 times minus 10 is 20. So we ended up with something that looks like this with our plus 2b and our minus 10b. And when we combine them, we ended up with negative 8b. Well, this week we're going to do the exact opposite. What we have to do, remember, these two multiply together, so we have to factor this one such that two numbers multiply to equal it, but add to equal that one. So let's take a look and let's go through some examples of this. And I'm really only going to do 3 examples because I feel like I'm taking up a lot of y'all's time doing this. But when we look at our problem here, we know that here's what we do know, or what we don't know. Anyway, here's what we do know. We know that if we were to make a box, that it would have b's on both sides. So we're going to make one factor equal to a b and the other factor equal to a b. And we know we have to have two numbers that multiply together to equal negative 20. So what can we do? Well, we know that negative 2 times 10 is equal to negative 20, and that 10 plus negative 2 is equal to 8, and that is equal to 8. Well, we also know that negative 10 times 2 is equal to negative 20, and if we take negative 10 plus 2, we get negative 8, which is the coefficient we have here. So what we know is that one of the factors is a minus 10, and the other factor is a plus 2. Okay? And that if we were to multiply those together again, the same way we did it last time, and we made our little box, and we had b minus 10 and a b plus 2. B times b was b squared. Minus 10 times b is minus 10b. Plus 2 times b is 2b. And 2 times the negative 10 is negative 20. And if we bring these down, we end up with b squared minus 10b plus 2b minus 20. And if we put these two like terms together, we get back to b squared minus 8b minus 20, which is the same as the problem we had here. Okay? If we look here, once again, we've got an n squared, so we know that we're going to have n here and an n here, and we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to equal 25, but add together to equal negative 10. Well, if we're looking at factoring 25, we know that 5 times 5 is equal to 25. But 5 plus 5 is equal to 10. And we got a negative 10. But wait a minute. We also know that negative 5 times negative 5 is equal to 25, a plus 25 because a negative times a negative. And a negative 5 minus 5 is equal to negative 10, and that ties back to what we're looking for here. So we know both factors have got to be a minus 5. But what do we say about something that's multiplied times itself? Something times itself is squared. So we can end up with n minus 5 and simplify it and just say it's n minus 5 squared. Simpler answer. All right. And let's look at number 7. Number 7, remember, if we don't have anything, we can put a 1 right in there. So now what we're looking to do is we're looking to factor negative 2 such that two numbers multiply to equal negative 2, but add together to equal negative 1. Okay? Well, negative 1 times 2 is equal to negative 2, but negative 1 plus 2 is equal to 1. But if we reverse them, we get negative 2 times 1. That's still equal to negative 2, but our negative 2 plus 1 is equal to our minus 1 that we're looking for here. So here's what we know. We know we got an x squared here. So we're going to have both of them starting with x. Okay? And one of them's got to be minus 2. And the other one's got to be plus 1. Because 1 times this x gives 1x. Minus 2 times this x gives minus 2x. And minus 1x minus 2x gives us our minus 1x. I've kind of thrown this up here. I'm sorry. So let's go ahead and do number 8 just so that we can do it and say we did it. We're looking now, remember, for two numbers that add to negative 5 but multiply to negative 36. Okay, well, let's look at negative 36. And we can have negative 6 times 6 is equal to negative 36. But negative 6 plus 6 is equal to 0. So that doesn't do us any good. And even if we were to switch them around, it wouldn't do any good. So what we got to look at now is another one. We could have 4 times 9, or minus 9. And we'll make it minus 4. Minus 4 times 9 is negative 36. But negative 4 plus 9 is equal to 5. And we got a negative 5 here, guys. So let's turn them around and make it minus 9 times 4. That's still equal to negative 36. And minus 9 plus 4 is equal to minus 5, which is what we've got here. So remember, we know we got the b times b, or in that case, so if we put our pieces together, we've got an r on both of them. And one of them's got to be minus 9, and the other one's got to be plus 4. Okay, I'm going to assign for you guys problems 1 through 4, but they're all solved the same. You've got to factor the last term such that the factors that will multiply to the last term will add to the middle coefficient. Okay? Because that goes back to our box up here where plus 2 times b and minus 10 times b add up to minus 8b. Okay? That's kind of the highlights, so I will leave you with that. This is the one I'm going to grade. Guys, I really miss you, and I'm hoping that pretty soon we'll all be able to get out and about and maybe see each other someplace other than school. So have a good week. Thanks a lot.